Hi, greetings and welcome. On this video I'm going to make a traditional float. I've just had a request now for a couple of Avons, the old topper floats we call them. Now this float's probably been around for a long time and it's probably accounted for a lot of fish caught on the rivers, especially the deeper type of slow moving rivers like the Bristol Avon, and I know it works very well on stretches of the Wye, for example, and the Thames, and well, I think probably all over the country this float has actually caught lots and lots of fish. It was synonymous with the name Topper because Topper, I suppose, was very successful with it on the Bristol Avon for many years, and I can remember sitting behind him as a young lad and catching on this float. You know, I was quite amazed the way it worked because it's almost like an instant setting float. You know, you cast out and because it's bulked down, it settles very quick in a deep swim. And you can control it, and because of the shape of the body and the shoulder, and because it's made of crow quill and it used to be made of cork, but now these days they're balsa, and I think Topper ended up making them out of polystyrene. But for today I'm going to make a couple with the balsa and crow quill. Now again, they come in two different types of styles. You get the standard oval shape, which I'll show you there. And then you get the reverse shape. Then the other type of shape is the like a reverse pear. So you shape it with a pear, and you put the shoulder on the top, and that's ideal then for holding back. You know, obviously a lot stronger than you would with a standard type of body. However, today I shall stick with the standard bodies, and that's the floats I'll be making. Okay, right, I've had also, while I'm talking about the Avon floats, I've used some big ones on the River Wye, and one of my fishing friends, Richie Candy, actually had a big weight not so long ago. I think he had 33-pound chub using a big Avon, and the big Avon floats, you're talking about, you know, sort of 8 gram, you know, which is quite a nice big float. Anyway, but most waters you're looking at between 6 and maybe 12 bb's. 4 bb's are okay for, you know, smaller waters, but generally like 6, 8, 10, 12. I do the full range on my website if you ever want to have a look. I'm not asking you to buy them because I tell you what, take ages to make. Never make any money making these floats, but even so, they're enjoyable, and you know, they do go back to the old Billy Lane days, because I think Billy Lane used to use them as well. You know, you talk like pre-war, and because I suppose, you know, crow quill, which I've already made a video about crow quills, where as wagglers, you can actually use them for, or they used to use them by, as I mentioned on that video, by putting a cork body on them, and it becomes like a crow quill topper float. Okay, sorry about the glass. What I'm seeing, can't see myself. Anyway, there's a couple of things you need to do to prepare yourself for the Avon floats. First of all, obviously you need the crow quill. Then you need the body, and you shape the body, and you've got to strip the actual feathers off the quill. You then you have to insert them inside the balsa, and then you whip them to finish them off. And I'll show them step by stage as I go through this now. Okay, so the first thing to do is pick out a good quality crow quill before you strip it. Obviously, depending on the size float. So I'm making a couple of 6 bb's and a couple of 4 bb's, a couple of smaller ones. So we shall see how we get on with those. Okay, so when you choose your quill, as I said, there's a couple of ways you can pluck this. The old method used to be, you know, sort of plucking it away little bit by little bit, making sure that you don't damage the float, of course, the quill itself. Do them in small sections is best, all the way up, and then you get a nice clean pluck, if you know what I mean. Right, just be careful you don't bend or break the quill. See how we're starting to get there now? We're getting there slowly. Now that actually went too far, so I need to cut that bit off, otherwise that'll and don't forget we'll be varnishing the floats anyway, so if we make any cuts into the quill, that'll be fine. Right, so as I said, that's the one way of plucking the feathers, and the other way is, as you can see, I'm holding the knife already. A nice sharp blade, and perhaps I'll use the other side, and basically if you just trim it down, trim the feathers off like that, and then eventually you'll end up sanding it down. I say when you get to the very top of it, don't be too worried if it bends and breaks, because you won't be going that far for the float. So there you are, I'll just sand that down now. Just a little bit of medium sandpaper will do, and then just, as I say, work at it, getting all the furry feathers off. The furry feathers. Yes, so this also reminds me, the Avon float, of like pole fishing almost, because with the bug down, you know, it's like instant fishing almost. And what I do like about this is they're easy to cast as well. You can lob them underarm, sidearm or overarm. I just missed out qualifying last year on the Riverfest when I switched to an Avon float very, very late, and casting right across the far side of the Avon, and you know, the presentation was perfect, much far better than a waggler, which, you know, as you know, I love my waggler fishing, but this Avon float actually, the presentation was far better, and it started catching fish. So, you know, so it's a good idea to, if you're fishing rivers, actually have an Avon float set up, or have them in your box anyway, at least. There you are, I'm just getting there now. It's just starting to clean that up. What I'll do now, I'll just nip that on the top. I'll cut that because that'll be about the length I need. Just use a little bit of pressure. There you are. So there you are. That's all the length I'll need for this size float. I just caught me in the middle of doing another one. Just making a couple together. So as I say, it's much easier when you make a few together. It saves you a lot of time if you just do them individually. There you go. These bodies of these floats can be coloured in various colours. Green seems to be very popular, black, or just natural colour. I think this particular order, I think they're green, so I may have to paint them green, but you know, they look quite nice when they're finished. Yes, coming back to Topper Haskins from Bristol area. He was well, he was a trailblazer in a sense those years ago, because he used to win a lot of matches. Bread as well. He used to fish a bread flake down the middle of the river with a crow quill, and I remember watching one match. I think he had 44 pounds, and the guy next to him never had a fish. So, you know, I suppose it was very similar to my type of chub fishing when I use the bread on the chub fishing. So, but I think that's a dying art now. I never see anyone fishing the bread, not with the Avon float anyway anymore, and certainly on the Bristol Avon. I mean, I was on there last year, and it's all mainly pole now, you know. Although the waggler still catches as well, but it's mainly pole, or the feeder, of course, you know, feeder for the bream. It's a great venue, the Avon, because it's over the, like, I suppose 30-mile length of it, which runs from Bath, or Chippenham, Bath, down through well, down through Fries, and all the way down to the centre almost. It varies, the depth sort of varies, you know, you get fast, shallow, you know, sort of runs, and then you get the deep stretches. Newbridge is one that I fish a lot, and I will be making some videos on pole floats soon, shortly, and I'll also tell you a little method I used that won me the South of England Pole Championships, using a float very similar to the Avon, but it's actually a pole float. But hey, I'll talk about that at a later date. Right. Okay, you just caught me as I'm just shaping some bodies. As I say, I make them into an oval shape. That should be the 6BB. No, 4BB, 6BB. So that should, yeah. And I know this through experience, obviously, the size balsa bodies I need to shape. Okay. Okay, the next part is to, although there's a hole already drilled, I need to enlarge the hole. So by using a fine drill, I basically just work away at it, bearing in mind that the crow quill is larger on one end and thinner on the other end. So so basically we need to shape the inside of this body larger on the top and narrower on the bottom. So you do that simply by working away, and you keep testing it as well. So basically, if I just put the quill now inside the, yeah, oh, well, just about there now, almost, I think, yeah, with a big push. There you are, getting there slowly. Yeah, now what I'll do, I'll put a little bit of super glue there to fix it. So let me just get this out, put a little drop of glue. Okay, yeah, just to cement it. So push this up to about there. There you are. That's lovely. So quite easy to make, really, once you've once you've shaped the body and you've made your you strip the quill, and you simply make the hole slightly larger and you fit the quill inside. So there you are. As I say, this is going to be the 4BB. The 6BB will be slightly larger, so I need slightly bigger quill for this one, for that one. Okay, now, right, the next stage, because it's going to be a green float, what we need to do is prepare the float by painting it first before we start to whip it. So I'm using an acrylic green. This, I think it's sap, green sap. Doesn't say like French writing on this. Parlez-vous français? Anyway, the old French anglers, they, I think they're very into their green colours, aren't they? I mean, you take census, they're all green. Right, okay, so we're going to start painting the body first, green. Little strokes up and down the body, just on the top where I'll be whipping the cotton. So that's giving a little bit of a barrier as well. So there we are. Bear in mind I've already doped the balsa, so it shouldn't take much paint to cover it. There you are. Old Ray Mumford used to make Avons, and he used to have a mottled colour. Like a black and a fleck behind the green. That's all very well. I mean, that's all show, really. At the end of the day, all the floats, they work the same anyway. So, you know, I'm not too fussed. It's called like a crack paint. You have to put the one colour on it and let it dry, and you put the other one on. And as that dries, it sort of cracks and exposes the black behind it, you know. Oh, you know, if I had to do that, blimey, I'd have to charge twice the price for the float then. Yeah. Anyway, there you are. That's all green. That's getting there now. So I'll let that dry for a little bit. Okay, I've just made a couple more now. Oh, excuse me. Bit of balsa. Sometimes I should wear a mask, really. You know, just to stop inhaling it, especially if I'm working, you know, in a long long time with it. Oh, silly. Balsa was worse than bloody smoking. Yeah, I just reached for my mask. But the problem is, if I wear this, you should be able to hear me talk, will you? So, hello, can you hear me now? Hello? Well, maybe I'll try it for a little bit. Oh, actually, I finished. I finished sanding down, so I don't really need it. But anyway, advisable to get one of them. Okay, if you're working with balsa for a long time, because you don't want to get in your chest. No good to you. Right, as I said, I've come back to them too now, so I'll be painting them green as well. These are the 6BB ones. So they're coming along nicely. There you are. So they're coming on now. Just let them dry a little bit. Now, there's a couple of other things to do to prepare this float. On the tip, it's a good idea to just give it a little bit of white acrylic paint before you put the fluorescent. However, because it's already white and it's like I suppose like a white affluent, is that the word? I lost the words now. Anyway, you can actually put the blaze paint straight on top. You don't actually need sometimes to paint the tip, but I painted this one. I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to paint one of these just to show you the difference, because as I say, sometimes because they're already white, you can paint the blaze tip on top, and these are going to be blaze. Sometimes you can do yellow. Yellow is a very good color on rivers, by the way. So those are my two choices, but in this case they're all going to be blaze. Okay, right. I've just prepared in the blaze color, the orange blaze. As I say, I'm waiting for this just to evaporate and congeal so it's pliable, because otherwise if you put it on too runny, it'll just run down the float. So there, I'm just all right, should be about ready now. So what I'm going to do, I'll pick on this one first, and I'll just start to rub this paint just on the top. Obviously, as I said, you don't want it too runny. You want it so it's nice and sticky, so when you put it on the float, yeah. Now what I'll do, I'm going to dry this upside down, because any drips from that then will just run down, and hopefully help seal the end as well, because sometimes you get a little sort of hole in the crow quill on the top. But so by putting it upside down, let it dry upside down, that should dry and seal the top as well at the same time. Okay, right. I'm going to whip the floats now. Now, red is a very popular colour. Now, I do make quite a lot of these floats, so I did invest in a large reel. Now, this particular cotton, it is an industrial cotton they use for upholstery, so it's thicker than the standard cotton you buy in the in the retail shop. So that's a little tip there. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to obviously place this on the ground, and I'm going to try and get some tension on the cotton. And the first thing I'm going to do is make a little loop like that. Okay. Now we have to fix on the end of the float. We have to start the whipping, and what we do, we go up at about 1/2 inch or more, 3/4 inch perhaps, and we pull the loop tight, and we hold that loose end. And what we do now, we just loosely whip it down to the bottom of the float. Now, once we reach the bottom of the float, we then start to whip it in a nice, neat whipping. Well, as neat as you can get it. Although, as I said, it doesn't make much difference these days whether you whip it, sort of neatly or not. But you know, I suppose it finishes the float off if it is neat anyway. So there we are. So this is doing two things now. It's strengthening the quill itself, especially on the thin end, because this is where we'll be putting one of the silicone float adapters. So we'll be putting 4 on this float altogether. That'll be 1 on the top, 1, when I say on the top, on the tip. There'll be 1 underneath the float, and there'll be 1 in the middle, and there'll be 1 on the bottom, and that'll help to strengthen the quill when it's on the line, when it's on the fishing line, because they're very delicate and they can break quite easily if you're a bit heavy-handed. So as I'm whipping this now, I'm going over those couple of whips that I'd done earlier, so it's making it like thicker. If you can see that, how thick that's becoming. And then what I do, once I get to a certain stage, then I'll just nip off this little bit of loose now, so I don't want that interfering anymore. So what I'll do, I'll cut that off. Sometimes easier with the scissors, but I'll do it with this little blade. Says me. There. Okay, now once I've sort of finished that, I do see that's almost continuous. Now I'm going to start, depending on the thickness of the quill, depends on how I whip it, whether I put close whipping or loose or wider whipping. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to do some tight whipping if I can, because as I say, the quill itself is quite thin and delicate. So by doing this, as I say, by the time we varnish it on top, it'll strengthen it all up. Okay, so as you can see, I'm twisting the float as I'm bringing the cotton up the hang on, I just didn't look quite right then. So just bring it up the quill up to the very top. Yeah. Now I'm starting to widen the whipping a little bit as the quill is thicker. Yeah, and then when I get to the very top, I then start to make sure it's all neat again. And what I do, I carry on the whipping now onto the body of the float. Sorry, but I got a bit of a cold coming. I think I was out, obviously fishing out on the cold winter banks. Right, so just making sure that's nice and neat. And I'll probably come up a ½ inch up the body. So this is doing, as I said, 3 things, as well as strengthening the float itself. It's also securing the quill, and it's making the float look nice. I know some float makers actually sign their names on them, but I don't bother with that really. I just try to keep it simple and easy, because at the end of the day, the float is there for a reason, not to look nice. Okay, that's about it now. Now, what I do is make a little loop just to secure that now. You know, we've got to be careful here, because this is where it could slip. So by putting a loop, that'll secure that there. Pull it tightly so it just beds into the box a little bit, and that's almost finished now. Now what I'll do, I shall cut that off, and I shall varnish straight over to secure it. I'll leave a little bit so that I can cut that bit off. What I'll do now, just put a bit of varnish on it, on the whole thing, and that'll more or less secure that. And I'll let that dry before I finish the rest of the float, which will be doing the top and exactly the same basically. Right, so let's just put this varnish nice and thick. There. Then I'll put this all the way down the stem, and this will, as it dries, it'll strengthen it up. Yeah. Okay, nice and sticky, which is a the varnish. It's a yacht varnish, so it will dry quite hard. Okay, so I'll let that dry now. Okay, well, I followed the same procedure as the bottom part of the float, and I've done the same to the top. I've put a little whip in just above the on the quill itself, and I carried it forward onto the bolts and onto the body itself, so it's finished like that. Now, next thing, after varnishing, of course, after letting dry, and now I put the size on, which is this is a 4BB. Give it a good shake. 4BB. Now when this dries, I shall varnish over that. There you are. And there's your Avon float. Now again, like the last video, I shall put a little diagram up, a little bit about the shotting pattern, and so you can have a little look. You know, just pause the video and you know, have a little look, little read. And as I say, if you're going to try and make some Avons, then that's as simple as that, really. Otherwise, you will buy them, of course. They don't sell them in a shop so much these days. You either have to get somebody to usually make them for you. But you know, for about £2 or £3, I think. Sometimes they charge as much as £5 for one. You know, but hey, I try to keep my price low if I can. But there you are, that's a lovely Avon float, and as I say, just going to finish off a little bit of varnish now on the capacity of the weight, so it doesn't wash off. And that's it. As I did mention just now, actually, about the when you put the rubbers on the float, you put one on the top, of course, you put one underneath, and you put one in the middle, and then one on the bottom. And that secures the float. Just a little warning, when you move it up and down the line, be careful, try and loosen, bring the rubbers down to move it up, because otherwise it'll bend and you know, got a chance of snapping the quill a little bit. But as I say, it's a very, very sensitive float. When it's in the water, it rides the water beautiful. You can hold back if you want to, and when you get bites, it's you know what I like about this float as well. You can strike, and if you haven't got a fish on, you can let it go, you know, go back into the same line that you're fishing. So you know, saves reeling it all the way in like you would with a waggler or a stick float. So yeah, it's a lovely little float, and it's worth catching a few fish on this. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget. Subscribe, put some comments. I got like I don't know, 4,000 subscribers on my Facebook page. I'd love it to have it on YouTube, and I do the same thing. I'll basically answer any questions that are thrown at me. And don't forget the patronage page as well. If you want to join that, you'll get a couple of Avons. If you want a couple of Avons next month, you know, with a subscription. So yeah, great. Okay. See you in the next one.